Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie Price. Welcome to the August Energies. Intense time still. And of course, August is going to bring a lot of change. And actually, I'm going to dive right into the monthly energies because it correlates with so much of what's coming up in August. So, Ariane, the Lyran Council of Time that I channel, is showing me the August energies as the path of love. And there is a specific way that they showed integrating this. And I'm also going to tie that into the eclipse series that's coming up. And of course, that ties in with the Lion's Gate as well. But the path of love in this 1 year of a building phase of new beginnings, which always overlaps with endings and other new beginnings, is really helping to propel us in a new flow. And August specifically is calling us to really look at how we are experiencing our individual unique paths of love. So the first way that they showed me the August energies is at the core of it is identifying, amplifying your passion. And you will have many passions. You'll have a passion or a desire of how you want to experience different areas of your life, your health, your intimate relationships, friendships, finances, creativity, spirituality, all of the different aspects of your life. What is your passion with that? What is your desire with that experience? What kinds of things do you want to create in your life in all of those different areas, or the areas that really stand out for you? So, beginning with really getting more clarity on your passion is that start of what's going to come up in the eclipses of that fire and water energy. What stirs your emotions and stirs that excitement in you, and then that fire energy is amplifying that and letting that transform into the action of steam, for example, as we mix fire and water. So step one is identifying and clarifying your passion or areas where you're wanting change. And that might be in your personal life, because that's, of course, where you're experiencing everything. But some of this might also be in the collective. We are a connected collective. A lot of BS going on in the world right now. And your energy in that does make a difference. You don't need to immerse in things that are outside of your control, but bringing your awareness of what you want to create, the peace on earth that humans deserve. Part of that is putting your awareness into that, letting your passion flow into that. And that's going to mean different things for everyone. So personal and collective definitely applies. So identifying that passion, step one. And then there are two aspects of this coin, the two sides of that are about the implementation. The first that I was shown is courage. Really looking at where you're being called to greater courage and what courage looks like for you in a moment. Because courage indicates the action of things. It indicates that there is a movement that is occurring. That is that direction of the path of love. And sometimes courage feels like bold steps. We're saying yes to something that we want, but there's a creative risk there. We're saying no to something that we don't want, but there's some sort of risk there. There's an unknown that is indicated with the courage to take actions or withhold from unhealthy actions in your life. So that courage is that one side of that implementation of your passion or the action of your path of love. Then the other aspect of this is nurturance. And that is the container or the allowing that supports that courage to move forward. And it can seem as if these two are very opposite, and indeed, often they feel that way, but they are ultimately connected as everything in this experience is. It only has the illusion of separation, but the experience of separation. So that connection of those two is the recognition that courage without nurturance is the imbalance of force or control, or the force without that vulnerability. And then nurturing without some sort of courage to allow things to move into the unknown is also another form of control, of holding back that courage because it doesn't have that openness and that container to be able to go through the process that is uncomfortable for a change state that's requiring that bolder courage. Courage comes in many forms, and so does nurturance. So the different forms of courage are sometimes those big, bold actions that are the big leaps needed to make a change. And other times, courage is that quiet consistency. It's those small decisions that are fueling the future. And then the same with nurturance. Sometimes nurturance is the bold steps that will protect when something is needing that, or will allow something to be uncomfortable in a moment rather than enabling. So it's always a balance of what is that moment calling for? Is it calling for some sort of change that is bolder or more externalized? Or is it calling for the kind of change that needs that container or that quieter, stiller movement or consistency to support your passion flowing? So overall, as you are identifying the areas in your life and the collective where you want change, where you want your love, your passion, your heart, your emotion to flow, as you're identifying those areas in your life and the world of change, then you're looking at what's calling me to courage and how is nurturance supporting that, so that I have both of those energetics. And we could call those many things. We could call it a masculine energetic. It's a direct action. We could call it a feminine energetic. It's a receiving container so that that change that you're making has a container to allow that change state to occur. We could call it strength and vulnerability. These are not so separate as separate instances of actions. They seem separate in a moment because sometimes that coin is on one side and you're seeing or experiencing an aspect of it. But these are energetics that every single one of us are created with at our core. It's the electromagnetic flow. It's the duality that seems like two, but it is connected through that core of our triality. So important energetics of really looking at what's calling you to change. What is it that you're desiring to see, hear, feel, experience here in your own life, and to be available for the collective of life on earth. Now, of course, this ties in to the eclipse series. We've got a Leo eclipse in on August 12th, solar eclipse. And that's that fire energy that is calling us forward to be creative, to get our creative joy and power and sharing and generosity that Leo in its positive aspects creates. And then we have the lunar eclipse in Pisces on the 28th, and that is that emotional, connective, mysterious, amplifying the intuition. What are we sensing? What is calling us from the subtle realms that's not quite into form, but it's needing more clarity, more awareness into it? Really powerful flow that, of course, also coincides with the Lionsgate, this Leo energy that is really powerful and stems back to representing that the time of Sirius rising, where the fields were flooded, and that was the preparation time so that the future could be fed. So August is calling us to that clarity with our passion in certain areas where we're wanting change personally and collectively. And also that step of courage and that step of nurturance is your support system so that you can manifest the change state and that it's coming with that nurturance of love. I had a really profound experience in my recent visit to Ireland that I want to share with y'all that connects to this. And July with that breath of life, and even June with the love within, it was really a time of us going deeper. And my May trip to Ireland really stirred up a lot of stuff that has been moving through in these past months. July has definitely moved a lot of energy, and then August is going to propel us forward into that more powerful expression. So when I was in Ireland, we went to the Cave of the Morrigan. And that was a profound experience. It had so many synchronicities leading up to it and afterwards. But as soon as I went into the cave, I immediately started crying. And it was just this deep, whole body sobbing, soul sobbing that was moving so much release of pain. And one of the things that came up in there was I said something in that sob that was like, I see where I have given my love away to fear or rage. And this is a huge aspect that is coming up collectively as the dynamics of suppression and control with fear are really they're being exposed. The manipulation tactics, the suppression tactics that create suppression of entire cultures and countries, and from that big level of cults and governments and religions and structure systems to the smaller cult of one, as they call it, that is the family structures and the relationship structures that are led with suppression and control that create fear. And often that rage is used as a control tactic, or aggression is used as a control tactic, and then it suppresses healthy resistance to that, or the healthy anger response. That's not about suppressing others. It's not about vomiting that on someone. It is about standing up for the self. And when I had that experience in the Cave of the Morrigan, I could see how those patterns from past life to this life to things that are connected more familially or relationship wise, things that are interconnected with the larger structures that we're all in, that I'm in, for example, here in America, and all of those structures. So I was seeing all of that fear and rage not only being suppressed and created within me, but how those tactics were suppressing our passions and creating those stagnant waters within us, or the water that dampens out the light, the fire, the passion, the desire, the creativity, the transformation. So as I was experiencing that, it was bringing up so much of what they're now showing with the path of love as really focusing on what is your passion? What are you wanting to change and desiring to experience in different areas of your life? And then using that courage flow, what's calling you to courage? Where are you noticing that your courage needs some of that nurturance in order to flow properly? And sometimes that's the bold, big leaps. Sometimes it's the smaller, consistent actions. But that is the overall process that we are being called to in August. And these systems are falling. That's what this time is all about. It is exposing those suppression systems. Find them in your own life. I have been finding them in mine, and really looking at things that have been making me feel suppressed in my own life, whether they're from past lives or current. And it has been profound. I have reached healing level corn. I always say I have a lot of go-tos. Like sometimes you need to meditate silently. Sometimes you need active things like music or dance or movement, whatever. You need the whole spectrum. I've been using music a lot, and corn has been really what I have needed to move some of that energy, which also put Mafra into my algo, which amazing talent. So you might need something different. I certainly do at different times, but moving that energy has been very important, and it will continue to be, because especially in August, we are being called into really find some of your directions that you're going to create in your life. So I do want to share I want to share this other thing that Ariane said about this that is so important. I can feel energy moving around that. So I'm going to say, I'm going to share that in the end. I think I'm going to share it after I do the intention, because that also is going to kind of get me. I do I want to remind you, I'm teaching light language in September online. That starts September 12th. This is one of the last times, or the final time, that I am teaching light language live, all together like this. After this class is going to be passive, and then you just won't have that live interaction with me, and I'll be shifting some other things after that. But last time I'm teaching light language live all together with me like that, starting September 12th. I'm teaching Crystalline Soul Healing online that starts September 25th. And that is the Lyran technology, alchemical template technology, that is a profound modality that moves a lot of energy, because it's aligning you as a practitioner with universal laws and how they apply into our density, so that this natural path of ascension is more easily navigated, because that is what we're moving through. We're moving from third density into fourth density, where there is much more connection in our experience. So that starts September 25th. You can find information about both of those on my website at jamieprice.com. And there's one other thing I wanted to share with y'all that I will put a link to it below. Mark Vicente just released a movie called The Narcissist Playbook. He originally did What the Bleep Do We Know? And I saw the movie Narcissist Playbook, which is only available streaming for now. And it was really powerful. He's doing amazing work. You should check out his YouTube. And I'm going to put a link below to the Narcissist Playbook as well. This is not an affiliate link. This is just a public service announcement for light workers, because this is what is crumbling now, is these controlling energetics that have been keeping love suppressed. And that narcissist empath dynamic, or those with the control for harm or greed, power for power's sake, versus those that want life to flourish as empowered individuals. This is the dynamic that we're in, and life is fail-safe towards love. So we know this is always coming back to love, and yet the temporary and temporal experience here on Earth, the linear time that we experience, makes this very challenging. And this is a realm of movement, which means it's a realm of action. And that's what we're being called to. As light workers, we are focused on the subtle, the pre-form, and really amplifying that energy. And then actions flow from that inspiration. So your path of love is calling you to amplify your passions, flow that energy into this world, and let your courage and your nurturance support you through that change. Now, I want to share the intention for the month. And I'll say it and then I'll explain it, because it's tying into the present moment and the fullness of our circular time and creating our future. So the intention this month is, I am following my path of love for this moment. I am following my path of love for this moment. And I always say, use it as often as you can, especially when you're having that time of, this is when I sit, whether it's the morning or the evening or wherever. This is where I sit and I focus. And then use it throughout the day when you're feeling challenged, but also when you're feeling excited or not challenged. That way you get to feel that fuller flow of it. But this one especially, I highly recommend using this when you're in that quiet meditative time. I am following my path of love for this moment. And you can see I'm kind of pausing after following my path of love for this moment, so that you have that time to really kind of understand how that applies into your moment. This is helping to stir up, what is your path of love? Where are you feeling that excitement? And yes, this is flowing. Where are you feeling, this is hopeless, this can't work, or I'm feeling restricted? Where are you feeling those things? And they're all good. But as you notice those, that helps you identify where you're wanting to change some of the things that you're experiencing in your life. And for this moment means, of course, it applies here in the present. It's bringing you into the present moment where the subtle past and the subtle future reside, so that you're shifting your resonance, your vibrational signature in the moment, so that that past has the courage to become the wisdom of lesson learned, or the strength that supports you. And your future becomes the passion that calls you forward, that you're nurturing that into existence because of your resonance. And you're using both of those energies, the courage of action and the nurturance of allowance, to open and expand your experience so that the present moment contains a fuller resonance of the wisdom of lesson learned, the strength of the past, and the potentials that are aligned with your passion that you want to experience. You're creating that resonance with that. So for this moment means right now in my present moment, I have choices that I'm making in each present moment that are fueling or feeding my future in positive ways that I want or not. So for this moment is pointing to the choices that you're making right now that feed the future. Now, I want to share before I do the light language, the other thing that Ariane showed me with this, and this, it was so necessary for me to hear with all that I've been processing through. And I hope that your time is so much simpler and easier and joyful than mine has been. I'm enjoying the process of release because I know what that does. This is why I'm obsessed with energy healing. So, one thing that they said connected to the path of love is this is a surmountable mountain, that whatever you are going through, you will overcome. Whatever is going on in this world, humanity will overcome. Life is fail-safe towards love, and you have within you the ability to nurture your vast courage to allow your passions to flow. You didn't come here to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders to make it change. You came here to love your life and let that flow so much into this world that other people can't help but pick it up because we are all 99.9+% subtle, connected, and communicating constantly. Let your beautiful passion flow. This is a surmountable mountain that you and humanity are going through. I hope you have a powerful Lion's Gate, a powerful eclipse series, an amazing August, and enjoy the crystalline soul healing and light language. Nemora tawa it narkrat som janor tawa nehrkat kuam huremato suam. Mora kaireta kralaratotum chorak grandat ekrorat dem orastorat tanoremet ikia remat utus rustawa nahret uquam brah tira tansan sharut uquam Hamora Dura taim, Ramast Ayakwa, Roa Satsur Tarat Namau, Krad Harakayat Unorat Women, Deirut Nitsit Kodast Amat, Delurno, Ne, who. Heniaritet Suremem, Morananayatash, Kratati. Ramototum mera tel rodus qua. Stanor matsum jaratoquem, ambrera tenendet iraka, ore mahruat nand. Ore mata ishtanot sum jaruk, kure meht tan endet, ore mosta irenen sacharat, dal rotuneata. Kawa emma sur, dan yarata. Hienanora mahcherut uquemet inen, naran mat ona nahner usu, steirut sancharut uquem. Jur steira ma, Orena tadema wem. Nama nierata wa oret. Sudeshwa. Sumsha waratanat. Rama